Now, as we know, 32-year-old Nick Reiner has been formally charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the apparent stabbing deaths of his parents, renowned director Rob Reiner and photographer and producer Michelle Reiner, who were found dead in their Los Angeles home back on December 14th.
The entire industry feels frozen right now, like someone hit pause on Hollywood itself. It hasn't felt this still in decades, not since the golden days when the old icons ran the show. But this isn't just quiet shock or momentary grief. It's a chill that seeped deep into every studio, every production set, every closed-door meeting. When the first whispers spread about that quiet house in Brentwood, everyone expected the usual PR routine. A short, polished statement followed by total silence. But this time, the script flipped completely. Out of nowhere, Tom Cruise broke through the Hollywood rule book and spoke out himself. No carefully crafted notes, no rehearsed lines, no waiting for the cameras, just him stepping forward when nobody else dared. Insiders say it wasn't some strategic stunt or timing trick. It was raw and real. The most guarded man in the industry suddenly let the walls down, and it shook everyone who heard it. He didn't send a rep. He didn't hold a press conference. He just talked directly and from the heart, because as he's told those closest to him, the truth matters. For Tom, what happened with Rob and Michelle Reiner wasn't gossip or a passing headline. It was personal. It was about loyalty, gratitude, and something much deeper. Those close to him say what he's been sharing behind closed doors is pulling the curtain back on an emotional story that's way heavier than anyone imagined. If you remember the early 90s, you know what Tom and Rob built together. A Few Good Men, a classic that defined an era. But Tom's not reminiscing about fame or trophies. He's remembering Rob Reiner, the man, the mentor who guided him, who carried quiet pain about his own family, especially his son Nick, pain that never made the tabloids but weighed heavily for years. This isn't just another Hollywood rumor. Everyone feels it. It's personal. It's tense.
As there is footage that has surfaced that's been released of apparently Nick allegedly walking alone at a gas station close to the Reiner family home a little after midnight on that Sunday. There's also apparently footage of him allegedly in a convenience store right before his arrest as well. By the way, I will tell you, I think his apparent demeanor in that footage, assuming it's him, could be critical in a potential defense, which I'll talk about more in a minute. What we haven't discussed yet are the potential defenses to be on the lookout here. Because as we go through this evidence, you do have to wonder, is this a slam dunk case for the prosecution or not? That is what we want to go through.
And it's making people uneasy in a way you can't just brush off. Those close to Tom say even his voice sounds different now. Less unstoppable energy, more quiet reflection. It's like what he's discovered has changed him, leaving that spark dimmer, heavier, as if the truth he uncovered aged him overnight. This isn't just about losing a respected filmmaker. It's about witnessing a family he's known for decades quietly crumble right in front of everyone's eyes. Those who were there say December 14th began like any other long night in Hollywood. Tom Cruise was deep in a production meeting, focused as always, when his phone suddenly buzzed. On the other end was someone he's trusted for years, a longtime Los Angeles law enforcement contact who's given him real, unfiltered truth since his earliest days filming in the city. But this call was different. The moment the line connected, 2 names were spoken, Rob and Michelle, followed by dead silence. What came next stopped Tom in his tracks. He didn't speak, didn't move, just stood there staring out at the city lights that Rob himself helped shape into a global symbol of fame and ambition. The official report came out cold and distant, describing it as a domestic incident involving serious injuries. But insiders say those few words barely touch the gravity of what authorities walked into that night. And this is where Tom's version of events turns darker, deeper, and far more emotional. Because he isn't just reflecting on what happened, he's revisiting everything that led up to it. Tom later shared that he'd known the tension inside the Reiner family had been brewing for months. During a private dinner earlier this year, Rob grew uncharacteristically quiet when talk turned to his kids. For a man who could light up any room, that sudden silence hit differently. Now people close to the family believe that moment may have been a warning nobody recognized at the time.
And to understand potential defenses, we have to go through what we know right now. Like, for example, it has been reported that the death certificates for this couple indicate that they died just within minutes of sustaining, quote, multiple sharp force injuries inflicted with a knife by another. That Rob was apparently found at 3:45 p.m., Michelle about a minute later. By the way, it was reported that the couple's daughter, Romy, was the one who found her father dead after the couple weren't responding to a scheduled massage therapist appointment.
Tom vividly remembers Rob saying that the cycle was getting harder to break. It wasn't casual talk. It was a weary admission of years of struggle, resentment, emotional distance, and heartbreak that went far beyond normal family issues. What haunted Tom later was realizing that none of this happened out of nowhere. It built slowly, painfully, behind closed doors. Those who know the Reiners say Rob and Michelle tried everything: love, patience, hope, but without the tough boundaries needed to protect themselves. And that's what hits hardest for Tom. He believes Hollywood's respect for the family's privacy went too far. Everyone tiptoed around the issue, too afraid to ask questions that might have actually helped when there was still time to make a difference. One message from Rob that Tom kept, a simple reflection on the cost of legacy, now feels hauntingly different. Back then, it read like wisdom. Now, in hindsight, it feels like a quiet cry for help, a signal that things were slipping out of control. Then came the breaking point, the moment that stunned Hollywood: Nick Reiner's arrest. The charges hit the A-list world like an explosion, and Tom couldn't help but notice the cruel twist of fate. The man who once delivered one of cinema's most powerful courtroom scenes now found his own family facing a real one. Authorities kept things under wraps, refusing to comment publicly. But through Tom's private talks with those closest to the situation, a much more haunting and emotional picture has started to emerge. One that's making even Hollywood veterans stop, look inward, and ask how something so tragic could happen right under everyone's nose. This wasn't some random outburst or chaotic twist of fate. It was personal, precise, and heartbreakingly close to home. There were no signs of forced entry, no theft, no shadowy strangers lurking outside. Everything pointed to something that unfolded from within. And Tom Cruise has made one thing crystal clear: he's not accepting any watered-down version of events. While defense attorneys are already shaping their arguments around stress and emotional strain, Tom believes Rob Reiner would have wanted nothing less than raw honesty. No excuses, no clever spin, just truth, even if it hurts. What breaks him most, though, isn't only the loss of Rob, it's Michelle.
Now, Nick was arrested hours later in the Exposition Park area near USC. The Santa Monica hotel room where Nick apparently checked into at around 4 a.m. Sunday the 14th, apparently using his own credit card, which is, by the way, potentially quite incriminating because he reportedly had been living in the back house of the Reiners property. So why check into this place at all times? And this all comes as it was also reported Nick had attended a party at Conan O'Brien's house the night before the killings, in which he allegedly went around asking strange questions to guests, got into this apparent weird interaction with actor Bill Hader, then had some sort of loud argument, potentially with his father at the party. His parents left shortly after. Sources.
While the world's attention stayed on Rob's legacy, Tom knew the partnership that made it all possible. He said time and again, Michelle was the heartbeat. She was the calm behind the chaos, the balance that kept everything running smoothly. And now, her absence is being felt everywhere, from Hollywood sets to the quiet corners of their circle of friends. Tom's grief hit even deeper when he learned Michelle had been hurt with the same force. For him, that changed everything. It wasn't just tragedy anymore. It felt like betrayal. Michelle was the one who kept peace when tempers flared between Nick and his father. She stepped in when voices rose. She absorbed tension to shield Rob's already fragile state. So when she was caught in the same devastating act, Tom knew in his gut this wasn't some impulsive explosion. It felt deliberate, calculated, and deeply disturbing. That's why he believes the upcoming trial will be one of the most emotionally charged court moments the state has seen in years. And as more of Tom's private timeline and recollections come forward, one truth has become impossible to ignore. Hollywood's silence isn't just about privacy anymore, it's about fear. Fear of admitting how close this pain truly is to home.
That this is a man with a serious history of substance abuse issues, that he's been open about that, talked about his struggles since he was 15, that he was homeless, that he was in and out of rehab, that he and his father collaborated on a film known as Being Charlie, which was released in 2016, that's about a young man addicted to drugs and his difficult, combative relationship with his former actor father, who's cold and distant. as he tries to recover. Rob, by the way, directed the film.
Fear of seeing how easily the same cracks could appear behind any high wall or gated mansion. Tom's been quietly urging the industry to rethink how it deals with private breakdowns that happen behind the scenes, those hidden family struggles buried under fame, wealth, and PR control. He's calling out the unspoken truth, that when the cameras stop rolling, too many people in this town are left alone to fight battles they can't win. He's been in touch with Rob and Michelle's sons, Roy and Jake Reiner, who friends say are barely holding it together, still in shock, still trying to make sense of how their own brother ended up sitting in a cell in Los Angeles County. The heartbreak is unimaginable. The disbelief runs deep. For Tom, this isn't just about grief anymore. It's about facing the collapse of a myth, the illusion that Hollywood's success and wealth can somehow shield people from tragedy. He said flat out, the Brentwood bubble is gone. The idea that influence or legacy could protect anyone has been shattered completely. Even the most admired families in the business weren't safe from what grew quietly behind closed doors. And the memory that's breaking people most is Tom's last conversation with Rob himself. They were planning a retrospective project, a celebration of Rob's career and everything he'd created. During that call, Rob said something that now echoes like a haunting prophecy. The stories we tell on screen are easy because we control the ending. Real life is the only script that scares me. At the time, Tom took it as reflection. Now he hears it as a warning. The next morning, that meaning became painfully clear. That realization hit him like a tidal wave, and it's why Tom has promised to stand in that courtroom, not as a celebrity, but as someone defending the legacy of the man who once guided him through the most important years of his career. He refuses to let Rob Reiner's story end buried under his son's headlines. For Tom, it's not about spectacle. It's about truth, memory, and honoring a mentor who gave him everything when the cameras weren't rolling. What makes this whole situation even heavier is what investigators later confirmed. Before Nick Reiner was taken into custody, he'd reportedly been moving through Los Angeles for hours, driving, walking, existing in the middle of a city that never sleeps. And what chills Tom Cruise most is that haunting contrast. The city lights blazing bright, nightlife buzzing, while that quiet Brentwood home sat in complete silence. That image has burned into his mind and hasn't left since. Tom has been clear from the start. This wasn't some panicked, out-of-control moment. Whoever walked out of that house didn't run or hide. They left calmly, almost coldly. Insiders who've seen reports describe the scene as total chaos, yet the person responsible moved as if they'd planned it. And when Tom says Hollywood is shaken, he's not exaggerating. He means it in every sense. He's hinted that there's more evidence still unseen by the public. Messages, recordings, digital trails that suggest Nick had been pulling away from his parents long before anyone caught on. To outsiders, this might look like another tragic headline that will fade with time. But for Tom, it marks the end of an era. That's why he's speaking out now, before the noise of the upcoming trial drowns out what really matters. Tom believes Rob and Michelle Reiner weren't victims of random circumstance. He says they were victims of love without limits, the kind of unconditional devotion that became their biggest weakness. They gave and gave, never setting boundaries, never turning away. And in the end, that same love turned into heartbreak. And that, Tom says, is the hardest truth of all. Behind Hollywood's glamorous facade, the quiet struggles are often the ones that destroy people. And when trial arrives, the trial is expected to reveal details that will be impossible to look away from. Even now, Tom insists the pattern was clear. The injuries told a story of long-buried resentment, emotional strain, and pain that built up over years until it finally exploded. That's the image he can't erase. The thought that all those years of silent pressure turned into something irreversible. Investigators have reportedly uncovered private communications that shift the entire narrative, messages that reveal emotional manipulation, control, and pressure directed at Rob and Michelle. Insiders who've seen fragments of this evidence say, if these messages make it to court, the defense will face a brutal uphill climb. At this point, the story has moved far beyond fame, money, or the Hollywood machine. For Tom, it's not about red carpets or headlines. It's about losing someone who was like a second father to him. It's about facing the painful truth that even in a city built on perfection, something deeply broken can hide behind the most polished doors. Tom didn't step into the spotlight for attention. He broke his silence because he refuses to let Rob Reiner be remembered through the lens of one horrific night. Rob was his teacher, his guide, The man who taught him discipline, empathy, and how to stay grounded when fame threatened to consume him. That's the Rob Tom remembers, and it's that version of the man he's determined to protect. Now, as the trial draws closer, Tom feels that preserving this truth is the final act of loyalty he can offer. The last defense of Rob's legacy. And behind the scenes, quiet whispers among security teams and private staff have painted a chilling picture. What happened inside that home wasn't just a clash. It was betrayal at the most personal level, and the emotional fallout is something Hollywood may never fully recover from. Sources close to the investigation say the confrontation unfolded inside the Reiner home in the very spaces meant for safety and peace. That single detail alone has left everyone shaken. Tom Cruise has been deeply affected by one haunting realization. Rob Reiner never saw it coming. To Tom, that speaks to something heartbreaking. Trust, hesitation, and the unspoken truth that when family is involved, the line between love and danger blurs fast. That moment replays in Tom's mind over and over, fueling what he calls the boundless love trap. It's the same idea Aaron Sorkin once talked about in theory, but now it's painfully real. Tom says Hollywood has a habit of handling problems by disguising them, smoothing them over, packaging them neatly, and pushing them out of sight. But this time, that old cycle has to end. What eats at him most is the irony that this tragedy now casts a dark shadow over Castle Rock Entertainment, a company built on stories about heart, truth, and human connection. For the man who helped create that legacy to meet such a cold ending is something Tom says he can barely process. He's been reaching out privately to friends he trusts, Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks, and others, trying to figure out how to support Roy and Jake Reiner, who are now carrying an unbearable burden. They're managing a massive estate while grieving both parents and facing the reality that their own brother is now entangled in a legal nightmare that could change his life forever. Tom insists this isn't just about one shocking night, it's about the emptiness left behind. Rob wasn't only a filmmaker, he was a mentor, a steady voice, a bridge between generations in Hollywood's creative and charitable circles. His absence has left a hole no one knows how to fill. Tom has also quietly confirmed seeing internal records tied to Nick Reiner's past struggles and recovery efforts. Rob personally oversaw every step with total discretion. No publicity, no leaks. He spent enormous amounts of time and resources trying to protect his son, both emotionally and publicly. Every relapse brought another safety net, another chance, another rescue built out of love and privilege combined. But now, Tom is openly questioning that system. He believes Hollywood's instinct to protect its own, to delay accountability, may have played a tragic role in what followed. In his view, the industry created a dangerous illusion that problems could always be fixed later, that money and love were enough, that consequences could wait. Now, that illusion has shattered completely. And for the first time, Hollywood is being forced to confront what it spent decades avoiding. Tom's account includes a chilling digital trail investigators are now reviewing, online posts, private notes, and personal files linked to Nick. Reports describe long, reflective messages about identity, pressure, and the heavy weight of growing up under a famous name. Those words have unsettled everyone who's seen them. To Tom, this wasn't confusion or an impulsive breakdown, it showed intention, a mindset that had been forming for years. What makes it even more disturbing is that this was never about money. Nick had access to resources. The motive, Tom believes, was psychological, an attempt to escape his own identity instead of living up to it. Those closest to Tom say he's visibly changed. The unstoppable confidence that defined him for decades is gone, replaced by quiet grief and exhaustion. He's no longer speaking as a superstar. He's speaking as a man mourning someone who grounded him when fame could have easily pulled him apart. Tom says Rob was the only director who could slow him down, the only one who made him feel scenes instead of just performing them. That loss, he admits, will stay with him forever. Rob didn't just teach technique or timing, he taught integrity, how to walk through a world built on illusion without losing yourself. That's why this cuts so deep. The hardest truth for Tom to face is that the man who stood for honesty, empathy, and loyalty in Hollywood was ultimately betrayed by those closest to him. That reality has shattered Tom's trust in everything he once believed about the Hollywood circle, about loyalty, legacy, and the price of protecting your own no matter the cost. He's watching the values he grew up believing in crack right before his eyes. Nick's legal team, led by Alan Jackson, is reportedly fighting to keep key records sealed, arguing it's about protecting the privacy of surviving family members. But Tom isn't staying silent. Through his own legal team, he's pushing for transparency, insisting that secrecy is exactly how tragedies like this keep repeating. His message couldn't be clearer. People need to see what happens when resentment, addiction, and unchecked privilege go unaddressed, when pain hides behind money, fame, and gates. He's done with soft language, done with silence. Tom wants accountability, even if it makes Hollywood uncomfortable. As December closes and the year winds down, Los Angeles feels tense. You can feel it in the air. Something big is coming. The upcoming trial isn't just about one man or one night anymore. It's about a system finally being forced to look itself in the mirror. A culture that's long chosen comfort over confrontation, image over honesty, is finally running out of places to hide. Tom has stepped into the lead, not for fame or headlines, but because, as he puts it, he has nothing to gain and everything to lose. He doesn't want sympathy, he wants truth. He wants Hollywood to see what happens when the illusion of control collides with real human pain. And he's even addressed the quiet whispers about Rob's health in those final months. Tom confirms Rob was physically worn down. Years of emotional strain had taken a toll, but he was still fighting, still showing that stubborn strength that defined him to the end. To Tom, that's the memory that matters most. Rob Reiner never stopped fighting, even when the world around him did. And Michelle, Tom says she was the glue, the calm, the stabilizer, the one who quietly kept everything running when Rob couldn't. Losing both of them wasn't just an attack on two people. It shattered the entire foundation of the Reiner family. That kind of loss leaves a wound fame can't fix and no legacy can fill. When Tom talks about what happened, you can hear the pain in his voice. It's not performative. It's heartbreak mixed with fury. Two loving, defenseless people, gone after spending their lives protecting everyone else. He says breaking his silence feels like finally tearing down a wall, years of secrets and quiet suffering spilling out from behind Hollywood's spotless surface. And he's not just talking about the Reiners. Tom is calling out the entire system, the one that raises the children of legends under crushing pressure while shielding them from consequences. What's most shocking in his message is that he doesn't see Nick as an isolated tragedy. He sees him as a product of a larger broken culture, one that rewards privilege, excuses bad behavior, and mistakes silence for compassion. During a private talk with peers, Tom ended with a bold challenge. Mourning isn't enough anymore. He said the industry needs to change how it protects families before things spiral. He wants Rob and Michelle remembered not only for their creative brilliance, but as the spark for real conversations about family intervention, emotional support, and the hidden pressures of success. And Tom isn't just talking, he's taking action. Sources confirm he's putting his own money into a foundation in Rob and Michelle's names, one designed to help families navigate fame, pressure, and personal breakdowns before it's too late. One line from Tom has already started echoing through Hollywood. "We can't just make stories about heroes, we have to be them at home." That quote has hit everyone hard. As trial nears, this trial is shaping up to be about more than what happened. It's about why it was allowed to happen at all. Tom's revelations are setting the stage for one of Hollywood's most emotionally charged courtroom moments ever. Insiders say the evidence is staggering. Even people linked to forensic work have quietly confirmed what unfolded inside that home wasn't sudden or chaotic. It followed a pattern, slow, deliberate, and heartbreaking. Tom was stunned to learn Rob and Michelle were found in different parts of the home. That detail alone shattered him. It suggested confusion, separation, and the unbearable thought that they couldn't reach each other when it mattered most. The idea that the man who brought laughter and love to millions, the same Rob Reiner who gave the world The Princess Bride, faced that kind of fear in his own house is something Tom says he can't ever unsee. He believes that image will haunt Hollywood for years, a reminder that even the most admired figures aren't immune to what happens behind closed doors. Each time Tom speaks, more of the glossy facade fades away, replaced by something raw, human, and real. And he's made one thing absolutely clear. He's not tearing down Rob's legacy, he's humanizing it. He wants the world to remember Rob not as an untouchable icon, but as a husband, a father, and a man doing his best under impossible pressure. Tom says Rob didn't fail because of weakness. He was crushed by the sheer weight of fame, expectation, and the emotional strain that comes from carrying everything alone. He believes Nick's actions didn't come from love, they came from something darker that grew unchecked. even as his parents tried to save him with endless compassion. As Tyrrell nears, the city of Los Angeles feels tense. Security has tightened around detention centers, and insiders say everyone knows. This isn't just another court case. It's a reckoning, one that could change how Hollywood handles family crises forever. There are growing concerns about leaks and private details spilling out from every corner of this case. But at the center of it all stands Tom Cruise, turning his grief into a mission. He's vowed to protect Rob and Michelle's truth from being twisted into gossip. For him, this isn't entertainment. It's a promise to two people he considered family. Experts say this could become one of California's most closely watched trials in decades. But Tom insists there's nothing compelling about it. It's unfinished mourning. Those close to him say he's told his inner circle that he won't return to full work until accountability is served. His once guarded silence has become something louder, a demand echoing through studios, agencies, and private rooms across Los Angeles. Even inside Castle Rock Entertainment, the tension is thick. Tom has described those final weeks before it all happened as heavy. Rob distracted, stepping out of meetings again and again to take urgent calls from Michelle, all tied to Nick's erratic behavior spiraling again. What breaks Tom the most isn't just what happened, it's how many people saw the warning signs and stayed quiet. Hollywood is filled with people who adored Rob, yet no one intervened when it mattered. And Tom doesn't excuse himself. He admits his own silence made him part of the problem. Speaking out now, he says, isn't exposure, it's responsibility. He calls it a collective failure, a whole community that looked the other way while one of its most respected families quietly fell apart. And that truth, he says, is now Hollywood's burden to carry. Tom also revealed a detail that left even investigators stunned. Early reports mentioned injuries, but later findings showed they weren't caused by anything brought in from outside. They came from something already inside the home. That changed everything. It turned the case from a distant story into something deeply personal, a betrayal made possible by familiarity. Tom keeps stressing this point, that people need to understand how something ordinary can become devastating when trust collapses. That's the image he's forcing Hollywood to face. And once seen, he believes it can never be ignored again. Investigators say the act itself was emotional at first, then eerily calm, a burst of rage followed by cold calculation. Police even found signs of cleanup attempts, suggesting panic first, then control. That single discovery changed everything. Now, as the trial draws near, insiders say new witnesses are stepping forward, including former household staff who worked closely with the Reiners. Their accounts reportedly describe years of tension and emotional outbursts directed at Michelle. Some, Tom claims, were even paid off or given large severance packages to keep quiet and protect the family's public image. That, he says, is the real Brentwood illusion. Image over truth, silence over safety. By exposing it, Tom is forcing Hollywood to face the cost of pretending everything is perfect. He's not letting this story twist into excuses about pressure or privilege. He's bringing it back to where it belongs, to Rob and Michelle Reiner, the true victims. Roy and Jake Reiner have reportedly given Tom their full blessing to keep speaking out, trusting him to preserve their parents' legacy. What haunts Tom most, though, is one chilling detail. The family shared a normal dinner just an hour before everything changed. No arguments, no signs of conflict, just calm. That, Tom says, is what disturbs him most. It wasn't chaos, it was choice. And on trial, that choice will finally be confronted in court. Tom refuses to let anyone rewrite Rob's love as a flaw. He calls that the ultimate betrayal. He's already shown verified accounts proving Rob was a father who never stopped fighting for his son, no matter the cost. As Los Angeles braces for the trial, Tom's mission remains crystal clear. Make sure Rob and Michelle Reiner are remembered for their love, not rewritten by excuses. If this story moved you, don't let it fade. Like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment to keep their truth alive, and we'll see you on the next one.